The fear of speaking English. How I overcame it. When I first started learning English, I felt excited. Every new word I learned felt like opening a new door to a bigger world. I could say, hello, how are you, and a few more phrases. But that excitement quickly faded when I had to speak in real conversations. I knew some vocabulary. I understood grammar rules. I could read and write simple texts. But whenever someone looked at me and waited for me to speak English, I froze. My heart would beat faster. My hands would shake. I was afraid. I was afraid of making mistakes. I was afraid that people would laugh at me. I was afraid of sounding stupid. And most of all, I was afraid of being judged. This fear was not small. It was huge. It controlled my actions. It made me silent in class. It made me avoid talking to native speakers. It even made me pretend I didn't know English just to escape the pressure of speaking. I remember one time in a cafe when a tourist asked me for directions in English. I understood every word they said, but I panicked. I just smiled and walked away. Afterward, I felt so disappointed in myself. I knew I had the ability. I knew I had the knowledge. But my fear was stronger than my confidence. So I started asking myself, why am I so scared? I realized the fear of speaking wasn't really about English. It was about me, about my thoughts, about how I saw myself. I believed that my English had to be perfect. I thought that one mistake would make people think I was dumb. That mindset was killing my progress. I needed to change something. Not my grammar. Not my vocabulary. I had to change my mindset. The first thing I did was accept this simple truth. Nobody speaks perfect English, not even native speakers. They make grammar mistakes. They forget words. They say and all the time. So why was I trying to be perfect? That pressure was unrealistic. I gave myself permission to make mistakes. I told myself, it's okay. Mistakes are part of learning. This simple shift changed everything. I stopped chasing perfection and started chasing connection. I stopped thinking about what others thought and started focusing on what I wanted to say. Next, I created a safe space to practice. I didn't start by talking to strangers or joining big conversations. That would have been too much. I began small. I started speaking English to myself at home. I would describe what I was doing. I am washing the dishes now. I am preparing tea. I feel tired today. I also practiced in front of the mirror, pretending I was in a real conversation. I watched English videos and repeated lines aloud. I shadowed native speakers, copying their pronunciation and rhythm. It felt silly at first, but over time, it built my confidence. Then I found a speaking partner, someone who was also learning English. We made a rule: no judgment, no corrections while speaking, only encouragement. We met online every week. At first, we only talked for 5 minutes, then 10, then 20. With every conversation, my fear reduced. I realized that speaking is not a performance. It's a skill. And like every skill, it improves with practice. Another powerful thing I did was record my voice. Yes, I hated hearing myself at first. My accent sounded weird. My voice felt unnatural. But I forced myself to keep doing it. I would pick a topic, talk about it for 2 minutes, and then listen to the recording. I didn't criticize myself. I looked for small improvements. Did I speak clearly? Did I pause too much? Did I say what I wanted to say? Week by week, I got better. My sentences became smoother. My voice became stronger. Most importantly, I started to like how I sounded in English. I also worked on calming my nerves. Before speaking, I took deep breaths. I reminded myself, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to speak. I smiled more, even when I felt nervous. Smiling relaxed my body. It made people more friendly, and it made me feel more confident. Little by little, I started speaking more in real life. I asked questions in class. I ordered food in English at cafes. I spoke to tourists. I joined language exchange meetups. Each time I spoke, I felt nervous, but I did it anyway. And every time I survived a conversation, I became stronger. The fear didn't disappear overnight. But with every step I took, it got smaller. One of the biggest turning points came when I stopped thinking of English as a test and started thinking of it as a tool to express myself, to connect with others, to share ideas. English is not just grammar and vocabulary. It's a living, breathing thing. And I wanted to live through it. I wanted to make friends, to laugh, to tell stories, to be myself. In English. So, I built new habits. I made English part of my daily life. I read books. I watched interviews. I listened to podcasts. But most importantly, I spoke. Every day. Even if it was just 5 minutes. I stopped waiting for the perfect time. I made time. And I made speaking a non-negotiable habit. Today, I'm not afraid to speak English anymore. I still make mistakes. I still forget words. But I don't freeze. I don't feel ashamed. I feel excited. I feel free. Because I know communication is more important than perfection. And courage is stronger than fear. Once I started speaking more often, I began noticing something unexpected. People were kind. They didn't laugh at my mistakes. They didn't criticize my accent. In fact, many of them smiled, nodded, and encouraged me to keep going. This was a huge realization. For so long, I had built this scary image in my head that others would judge me harshly. But in reality, most people appreciated that I was trying to speak their language. They admired the effort. That changed everything. It made me realize that the fear I had was not coming from the world outside. It was coming from within. So, I decided to go deeper and face that inner voice, the one that always whispered, "You're not good enough." I started writing down all the negative thoughts I had about my English. Things like, "Your pronunciation is bad. You sound dumb. People won't understand you." And then, next to each sentence, I wrote a new thought. A positive one. "Your pronunciation is improving every day. You are brave for even trying. Most people can understand you just fine." It might sound simple, but this practice helped me rewire my mind. I was replacing fear with facts, replacing shame with self-respect. To strengthen my confidence even more, I created what I call speaking rituals. Before every important English interaction, like a presentation, a class, or even a phone call, I would go through the same steps. 1. Breathe deeply. 2. Smile. 3. Say out loud, "You've got this. Mistakes don't matter." 4. Visualize the conversation going well. These rituals made a huge difference. They gave me a sense of control. They reminded me that I had prepared for this moment, that I was ready. At one point, I even joined a public speaking group that met once a month to practice giving short speeches in English. That experience pushed me far beyond my comfort zone. I remember my first speech. I was shaking, my voice trembled, and I forgot half of what I wanted to say. But the group clapped anyway. They told me I was brave, They gave helpful feedback, and they asked me to come back next time. So I did. And the second time, I spoke with more clarity. The third time, I added some humor. By the fifth time, I felt excited to speak in front of others. It was no longer terrifying. It was empowering. Another turning point came when I started helping others with their English. I volunteered to tutor beginners. Teaching others forced me to explain things clearly and speak with confidence. And something amazing happened when I helped someone else overcome their fear, my own fear shrank too. I realized that I didn't have to wait until I was perfect to make a difference. Even as a learner, I had something valuable to offer. Along the way, I stopped comparing myself to others. I used to listen to fluent English speakers and think, I'll never sound like that. But I learned that comparison is poison. Everyone has their own journey, their own challenges, their own pace. Instead of feeling jealous, I began to feel inspired. I started saying, if they can do it, so can I. And more importantly, I'm proud of how far I've come. One day, I looked back at the person I used to be, the one who couldn't say a word without panicking, and I realized how much I had changed. I had transformed fear into fuel, insecurity into action, silence into strength, not because I had perfect grammar or a native accent, but because I kept showing up. I kept trying. I kept speaking, even when it was hard. If you're listening to this and you feel that fear inside, I want you to know that you're not alone. Every English learner feels it at some point. The fear of being judged, the fear of sounding wrong, the fear of embarrassment. But remember, those fears are just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. You are more capable than you think. You are braver than you feel. And your voice deserves to be heard, mistakes and all. The path to confidence isn't about waiting for the fear to disappear. It's about walking forward with the fear still present. It's about choosing courage over comfort. Choosing to speak even when your voice shakes. Choosing growth over perfection. Let me end this part with something I now tell myself before every English conversation. I'm not here to impress anyone. I'm here to express myself. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm ready. After I started changing my mindset, I realized something deeper about fear. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is a signal. It tells you that you're stepping into new territory, that you're doing something meaningful. If you're afraid to speak English, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're growing. Growth always comes with discomfort. That's how you know you're on the right path. I remember one day, I was on a group video call with people from different countries. We were all practicing English. When it was my turn to speak, my hands were sweating. My heart was pounding. But I reminded myself, you've been here before. You've made it through. So I spoke. I talked about my hometown, my culture, and why I love learning English. And something unexpected happened. People asked questions. They smiled. They related to my story. That moment changed me. I felt heard. I felt seen. I felt human. I realized that communication is not about perfect words. It's about connection. It's about sharing who you are. When people see your heart, they don't care if you use the wrong tense or mispronounce a word. They care about your energy, your passion, your sincerity. From that point on, I gave myself permission to be imperfect. I stopped waiting to be ready. I stopped hiding. I said yes to conversations I would have avoided before. I talked to strangers. I joined English clubs. I commented on videos. I asked questions in class. Every time I spoke, even just a little, I gained confidence. I also began recording myself speaking. At first, it was awkward and painful. I hated hearing my own voice. I noticed every tiny mistake, but I kept going. I made it a daily habit. 1 minute per day, then 2 minutes, then 5. Over time, I began to notice improvement. My speech became smoother. My hesitation decreased. I started using better vocabulary. I was literally watching myself grow. And I started to celebrate small wins. If I had a conversation with a taxi driver in English, I celebrated. If I asked a question in English class, I celebrated. If I spoke up during a meeting, I celebrated. These small moments built momentum. Confidence isn't built all at once. It's built through repetition, through showing up again and again. Another big step was changing my environment. I surrounded myself with people who supported me, people who didn't laugh when I made a mistake, people who corrected me gently and encouraged me to try again. I also unfollowed social media accounts that made me feel bad about my English, and followed inspiring learners instead. Your environment matters more than you think. It can lift you or limit you. One day, I gave a full presentation in English to my team. 20 minutes, slides, examples, questions, and answers. Was I nervous? Yes. Did I make mistakes? Yes. But guess what? No one cared. They were impressed. They respected my courage. And I respected myself more than ever. That day proved to me that I was no longer the same person who once avoided ordering coffee in English. There's something beautiful about overcoming fear. It changes your identity. You no longer see yourself as the shy learner. You start to see yourself as a communicator, a risk-taker, a leader. Every time you speak, even when you're scared, you're telling yourself, I am someone who shows up. I am someone who dares. And if you're thinking, but what if people laugh? Or, what if I mess up in front of everyone? Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter. People will forget your mistake in 5 seconds, but you'll remember your courage for a lifetime. The people who matter will admire your effort. The people who judge you don't matter at all. Your journey is yours. No one else can walk it for you. But I promise, if you keep walking, if you keep speaking, if you keep believing, the fear will shrink, and your confidence will grow in ways you never imagined. Here's a tip that helped me a lot. Create a confidence log. Every time you do something brave in English, write it down. It could be something small like saying hello to a tourist, or something big like leading a meeting. Over time, you'll have a list of victories to look at on the days when doubt returns. It's proof that you're growing. Also, remember to be kind to yourself. Learning a language is hard. It takes time. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel embarrassed. You're doing something amazing. You're learning how to express your thoughts, your dreams, your truth in a whole new language. That's powerful. And here's something I wish someone had told me earlier. You don't need to be fluent to be confident. You just need to be willing. Willing to try. Willing to be seen. Willing to be human. Now, whenever I feel that familiar fear rising, before a big conversation or a public talk, I don't try to fight it. I welcome it. I say, hello, fear. You're here again. That must mean I'm about to grow. So how can you overcome the fear of speaking English? Not just in theory, but in your real life. Let me share with you the 7 most powerful strategies that truly changed the game for me. 1. Speak before you're ready. Most learners wait to feel ready before they speak. But here's the truth. You'll never feel ready. Confidence comes after you speak, not before. The more you speak, the more your brain rewires itself to believe, I can do this. Start small. Say hello to a stranger. Ask for directions. Order in English. Don't wait for permission. Give it to yourself. 2. Make mistakes your friends. Instead of fearing mistakes, chase them. Every mistake is feedback. Every mistake means you're trying. If you're not making mistakes, you're not growing. Reframe them as learning points. I once said I'm boring when I meant I'm bored. And we all laughed. I'll never forget that lesson. And now I teach it to others. 3. Record yourself daily. This practice was a breakthrough. Speaking without pressure, just you and your phone. At first, it's awkward. But with consistency, you begin to observe your improvement. You hear your hesitations, your filler words, your strengths. It's like a mirror for your voice. And eventually, you'll start to love what you hear. 4. Celebrate micro wins. We often ignore small successes because we're chasing perfection. But those micro wins are the foundation of confidence. Celebrate every time you speak up. Write it down. Smile when you complete a sentence without stopping. Take pride in every brave word you say. Success is not a big leap. It's hundreds of tiny steps. 5. Visualize speaking successfully. Close your eyes and imagine yourself speaking English clearly, confidently. Picture the room, the people, the feeling of pride after speaking. Athletes do this before big games, and it works for language too. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imagined and real practice. Use this to your advantage. 6. Shift your identity. Stop saying, I'm bad at English, or I'm shy. These are not facts. They're stories. Start telling yourself a new story. I'm a communicator. I'm an English speaker in progress. I'm improving every day. Your brain listens to your words. Identity creates action, and action builds reality. 7. Find your English tribe. Don't walk this journey alone. Find people who are also learning, struggling, and growing. Join communities online. Start a WhatsApp group. Attend local meetups. Surrounding yourself with supportive learners multiplies your progress. They'll remind you you're not alone. They'll lift you up when you fall. And you'll do the same for them. Let me now speak directly to you. The listener, the learner, the brave soul reading this. You are not behind. You are not too old. You are not too slow. You are exactly where you need to be. The fear you feel? It's part of the process. The discomfort? It means you're alive and moving forward. The doubts? They visit everyone, even native speakers. But you have something powerful inside you, something stronger than fear. It's your desire to grow, your courage to try again, your belief that you are capable of more. I want you to remember this. Confidence is a decision, not a personality trait, not a magic gift, a decision. A choice you make every day when you open your mouth and speak, even when your voice shakes. Some days will be hard. You'll freeze. You'll forget words. You'll feel embarrassed. And that's okay. Feel it. Learn from it. And keep going. Because there will also be days when you'll surprise yourself, when the words will flow, when someone will say, "Wow, your English is great," when you'll realize, "I just did that," And I didn't die. And those days will make it all worth it. So here's what I want you to do today. Speak. Say something. Anything. Out loud. Even if no one is around. Especially if no one is around. Say your name. Describe your room. Share your favorite quote. Just speak. This is your practice. This is your path. This is your power. Fear will not disappear, but you'll get stronger. You'll rise above it. You'll look back one day and say, I was afraid, but I did it anyway. And that, my friend, is real confidence. You've got this, and I'm cheering for you every step of the way.